begin to finally hear that sound. So when I finally have my layout, yeah, I cannot begin to decide on the colors I want to use for my design work and all of those things, right? So let me just create like a new page. I will just do all of this and just call it design, I guess. Then I'll just explain everything from scratch. So I used a 1440 pixel uh, frame, which is like the standard desktop. Let me just go to this page. Standard desktop. So F for frame. And sorry, before I like go through this again, I when I created this what's it called? This form, yeah, that everybody filled. I basically said that basic Figma experience is required though. So I might be using shortcuts to like walk along the way. So if there's anything I probably don't understand or you're wondering how I go through there. But at the same time, I think I would try as much as possible to be, basically saying the things I do, even if it's keyboard shortcuts or all of those things that basically improve like my Figma workflow. So F for the frame tool, then I basically just select the desktop like so. Then maybe I can just call this dashboard. Yeah, so when it comes to dashboard designs, especially when you have like a side menu on the left, there are certain things you need to consider, right? So I think one of them is basically how you want to lay out your information. There are certain dashboards that don't have side menus on the left. Yeah, I think on the very rare occasions you see people that put their side menus on the right of the screen, which is not really advisable though. But the left is like the common, or let's say it's like the norm, what a lot of people use. Largely when you have, a lot of content or a lot of interactions or a lot of possible pages that will be on that particular product, right? So you need to have them on the left side of your screen. Then so for the cases where you probably just have like four or maybe even five let's say different pages on that product, you might have them like laid out horizontally. So instead of having your content like go from top to bottom, it then goes from left to right most of the time. And there are cases like that. For because what we're doing and the idea I had in mind, I basically just created like a number of pages and prioritized just designing this one dashboard, which is this screen you are seeing here. So I think from time to time, I'll be switching between this page and the other page where because this is the reference we're going to work. I'll just basically explain and design this from the very ground up so we can understand how I came about this essentially, right? So yeah, so first things first is the layout. So basically there are grids in Figma, and basically grids help you structure out your content, your design, your cards, your frames, your elements that will be on that particular screen. Grids are important because they basically just make your work a lot neater. So when you're designing dashboard, you usually have to use grids. And I don't know, there was a tweet from I think Stefan or so. He talked about like dashboard and dimensions, right? So and before then, I sort of like had the idea. So if I switch back to this uh page and I hit Shift G, you see that there are a lot of like you know columns here and there on this particular design. And you see that the content is evenly spaced out, I beg your pardon. And basically what I just did here is to just have a good layout. If you look at these cards here, you can see that they are basically it there's a space in between them and the space is just cohesive throughout the design. And I would always recommend anyone to basically use 4 pixel like grid system when they're designing because this is basically like the standard for people that code, usually CSS and all of that. And 4 is really good because any increment you're making will be in additions of 4 or divisions of 4, right? So I use this a lot. So when I'm rounding up my corners, my spacing, my padding, even uh, the littlest of distances between elements, yeah, I always consider using that pixel size or that grid system. So just in case you're wondering the grid system I use 4 pixel grid. Some people use 8 pixel grid. Yeah, but I usually prefer 4 because it gives me more control, like between my elements and all of those things, right? So as you can see, this is 16 pixels, right? 16 is basically 4 by 4, right? It's a number divisible by 4. That is, you can divide 16 by 4 and get a whole number, which is 4. You can see here, this is also 24. My padding as well, if you look at the properties panel on the right here, you see 16 by 16. So all of these things are sort of like cohesive, like throughout the entire design, right? Let me fix this. Yeah, like so. So let's get the layout on right first, yeah? So if you look at the layout grid, you can see that there are three of them on the right here. So there's the 12 column, there's the one column, and there's another one column. So this 12 column now is basically um it starts counting from the right, yeah. And this is I use this because naturally this other space here on the left where we have the side menu is where elements that or navigations will probably be, or that's where they will just be kept on the screen. Then the body of the design or the content of the design proper, where other things will be, maybe like as you can see these other cards here, and this table, as you can see, the large content will be on this area of the screen. So I think this is what I've been using. This is what I usually use when I design dashboards with 1440 pixels. That's the frame size. I basically use a count of 12. As you can see, 12 is like a multiple of 4. Then the width is 70. The offset is 32. And the gutter is 24. Yeah, and in case you don't know what the gutter is basically like, what's it called? The space, what's it called? How do I even explain what a gutter is? Well, the gutter is basically like the spacing between like elements inside. So as you can see, this is a column, or this is a column, and this spacing in between these two elements here, this white space here is what we call a gutter. So if you have a column grid, because there are row grids and there are column grids. So the row is the horizontal one, while the column is the vertical one. So these are columns here. So each of this, as you can see, there are 12 of them in number. So the spacing between those 12 vertical lines that we call grids are what we call gutters. And the margins are the ones that are around them or outside of the 12 of them, yeah. So yeah, I think that's where a gutter is. Then offset is, I think what it means in this case is basically like away from the entire grid, not the space inside, not the space outside. So as you can see, it's counting from the right. See the type here is right. So we're going from right to left here. And if I let's say I make this 0, see, if I make this 0, you can see that there was a shift from the left to the right of the screen. So you must spend too much time on grid share, but it just basically helps you lay out your content good in a very good way. So 32 for the offset, 24 for the quarter, and 70 for the width. So let me just do the same thing here. So layout grid, create a layout grid, switch to columns. Then we're going to write for the type. So our count is 12, our width is 70, offset is 32, and quarter is 24. I think I'm correct. Yeah. Then for the second one, we basically have a count of 1 coming from the left, then a width of 32, offset of 272, and a quarter of 32. This particular two are not so important, yeah, but they are nice because they just basically show you. And I will also increase the opacity of these two. So basically, this particular column now is this one you're seeing here that has like a very brighter version of the red. Then this one is the other one that comes from the right. So let me just show you why they're important to an extent. But you don't necessarily have to use this particular one, yeah. So it just basically keeps your when you're designing, you know that okay, this area should not be this away. So this area in your head, you're like, okay, this area there shouldn't be any content here. So basically just the spacing in between this side menu and the body of content that will be inside here. Yeah. So this is this is 24. Sorry. Um, the spacing between the side menu and the spacing in between the content on the right is 32, right? So we can create another layer grid. Sorry. Column out of one. Let me increase the opacity to 20 so we see. I think stretches from the left. If I remember correct, I think it's 272 and 32, 272 and 32, yeah. So 272, 32, 32. Oh, sorry, 32 to 72 is offset and 32, yeah. In case you're wondering why I'm using to switch, I'm just using tab on my keyboard to move from this property to this property, and shift tab just does the opposite. So that's for this one. Then you can create another column like so and do the same thing this time for the right. 32, so it counts as one. 272, 32. Let me confirm that. Sorry, offset is zero, yeah. So offset is zero for this. I'm making a mistake, sorry. 32, 0, 32, yeah. Sorry, right. Okay, remember. Oh, yeah, increase the opacity too. So I was not seeing it. If you notice that since they're basically the same thing, if I don't increase the opacity, I will not see what's happening on this. Sorry, can you hear me? I don't know, my phone just kicked me out for some
Yeah,
reason.
we can
Okay.
hear you.
All right, cool. Thank you, man. So yeah, so I increased the opacity for the grids on the left and on the right, high, smart. Then that's why we can see them. If not, they'll just be like invisible. So I think to start with, yeah, let me hide this. Shift G to hide the grids, by the way. So when I worked on this, honestly, the first thing I designed was this side menu. But I think on second thought, I would want this to be like the secondary color share. So let's just experiment with that real quick and see how it turns out. So let me change this to the secondary blue. Then I think this can be like, say, something like this. So I'm just experimenting. I want to try something out. I think came to my head later. So let me just see how it turns out. It is looking weird. Not coming together like how I wanted it to. But let me see, Sha. Let me just save all the stress. But essentially, I wanted this to be the secondary color. Yeah, that's the background of the side menu to be. because this is the primary and this is the secondary, and this pink here is the accent. So I was thinking, it's obviously it looks really very okay like this, sure, but an idea came to my head, sure. I think maybe I'll maybe give that a try later on. But yeah, let's just make progress. So this is the first thing I designed, and if we go to this file, basically just whack F and draw a frame like so. And okay, I forgot to talk about something. Yeah, I don't know about other designers, but for me, when I'm working on something like this, I have two separate like shades of my gray or two different groups of my grays. Yeah, I have one gray for my background and elevation. What that means is basically like all these things you're seeing here. Let me hide this. The this particular shade of gray now, and all these lines, the separators, the borders, the all those things are in my back. The colors I use or the shades I use are in my background frame, right? My background colors or styles. Then the text itself, I basically use to show importance or contrast or hierarchy in my design. As you can see here, I basically just use a different shade of those grays. So because if I go to my styles here on the right, if I click here, you can see color styles. I have like background shades. I have the grays, which are usually for my text. Then the colors I'll be using, primary, secondary, and the accents. These are just for the states. I didn't create styles for this because I just used one version, yeah. So let me just get right into it. So let me just copy this here and drop it so it's easier to follow instead of just switching in between the pages. So now this product, like I said before, is basically like a product for designers to help them track their, sorry, to help them like apply for jobs, source jobs, and basically just get paid for their work. So I think for the purpose of this exercise, I just designed the dashboard. And let's look at the elements on side menu here. So we have applications, we have jobs and offers, we have public profile. Please, these are placeholder icons in case you're wondering why they look like this. Then for the tools, portfolio, resume, optimization, which this is a pro feature. Then for the resources, we have articles, website builder, and get help. Then this is basically like a card to basically sell something to the customer, right? I'll explain that when we get to that place. So first things first, let me just let's basically design this here. If we go back to the design, you see that uh like I said, increments of fours, yeah, or four, if that's okay to say. Um, the margin here for this is 16. The quarter is 16. The quarter doesn't really matter, sha, for things like this because I'm basically just focusing on the edges. I'm not really concerned about the layout on the inside because I basically be using auto layout. So I created a style guide, a style for this or a layout for this because I basically want the elements to stay 16 pixels apart from the border. That is on left and the right. If you get what I mean. So this is a design element. This is a card. Then this is, as you can see, this is 16 pixels here, top and on the left. So this is a picture of the person's name, what the person does, and their experience level. And this is the only use case where I use the accent color in the design. Let's put it like design this here. So like I said, I used like a different shade for my background. So I'll just fill in this as let's say orange. Let me change the entire background to like 50. Then the border will probably be 16. You might not see that clearly, sure, but as we go, you'll be able to see the entire thing. So let me just this is I used what was it called? I used a plugin for to get this image. So there are a lot of plugins in Figma to get images for you. So let me just quickly walk everybody through that. Yeah. So this is the widgets area. Then you can just search for components, plugins, and widgets. Then avatar. So if I click on avatar, it runs automatically and loads up the image, depending on how fast your network is. Yeah. And See, that's basically an image of somebody. So can resize this to 32. I think okay, 36, yeah, 36. Like I said, increment of four. Everything I'm basically adding and sizing up inside of Figma for this design have increment of four. So that's basically how I got this image from the plugin. Then I didn't create a text style. So let me talk a little bit about typography. For typography in when you're designing, yeah, there are a lot of things to consider. So I basically used just one typeface for this entire project because I didn't see the need to have multiple typefaces, right? The header is the same thing, the body is the same thing, and can typeface here, epilogue, that's the name of the typeface. So, and there's something called type scaling in design. I'll talk a little bit about type scaling. Type scaling is important for you to basically size up your text in a way that it basically ensures good contrast. It ensures good visual contrast, right? And there are some tools that can help you like, improve your type scaling. Let me just switch. And this is what I use. I use typescale.com. Can you just paste this in the comment in case you're on your PC? Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so typescale.com. This is what I use to basically like size up my text most of the time. Even when I'm designing for mobile, I do the same thing. So if you look at the left side here, you can see the baseline. You can basically set, let's say, the size of the text you want to start with. As you can see, this particular one is highlighted here, 16 pixels, right? So just leave it at 16. 16 is fine. It also gives you like lower, you know, figures as well. And personally, I use perfect fort, which is basically an increment by 1.333. It basically multiplies the next number by 1.333. So so because of time, I won't be creating all this stuff one by one because I used from regular to all the way to bold, and that will take a lot of time. But I want to just explain the entire process behind my type scaling. So in case you are wondering when you see, I use 16 here, I use 21 here, I use 28 here, or I use 37 here. It's basically just to improve the visual layout and the visual hierarchy of my text. So perfect port works for me because it's the increment is just very, very nice. Even for mobile, I use it for mobile as well as web. So this is basically just the font I use, Epilogue. It works with Google fonts. Then you can increase the weight if you want to, but 400 is fine. Let's say we can use 500. Then this is basically a preview text. So you can type whatever you want to type in here so that it just resonates with the result it's giving you. If you want, you can also increase this. If you add a plus here, you can see it basically multiplies the next number by it multiplies the previous number by 1.33, increasing the type by that 1.333, right? So same thing with the bottom six from 6.76 to 9 to 12 to 16 to 21 and so on. Yeah. So this is basically what I use to scale my type. And I'll explain to you how I did here in my design. So this is the name of our designer. As you can see, this is 16, and this is a smaller text which is 12. If I switch back to the type scale, you see that this is 16 and this is 12. And for cases where you probably have like numbers that have decimals, you probably want to yeah, sorry, I got disconnected, yeah, from my phone. Yeah, thank you. So yeah, as I was saying, basically when you have let's say multiple numbers, let's say like you need to round off. Like I said, I gave an instance with this particular one that is 50.5 and 37.9. So in my skill, when I'm creating my style guide for my typography, yeah, I won't call this 37. I'll call it 38. So if it's going to be like my header 3 or my header 4, I'll call this 38 and not 37. Same thing with this one that is 50. I'll call it uh I'll call it 51 because it's 50.5. 5 basically counts for one. So, so yeah, this is basically how I work with this. Yeah. So as you can see, this is the name of the designer. This is the body. So since I didn't create that, I just have to like type this like from scratch. So the name of the person is Jeanette Bridget. Move my phone away. Like so, and this is 16. So this is the name of the person, and this is what she does. She is a UX designer. So instead of copying that, or let me just copy it to save time. So this is basically like 12. As you can see, this is 12 and basically the same typeface. Going back to the type scale, you can see that that 12 is here. Yeah, this is 12, and this is 16 using 1.33, which is the perfect font. So yeah, and I basically auto layout this. Okay, for this one as well, this is 9. So if I scroll down a bit, you can see that this is 9.0. So senior designer, just shift A that and add a color. Can you all hear me? Figma is telling me I have network issues. No. Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Sorry, guys, can you hear me? Okay. Sorry, I don't know how to restart my router. Something is acting up, so please give me a sec. Who's this one that is laughing? Sorry, hold on. I think I'll just go on my PC, sure. Please, once you can see my screen, just let me know. I'll take this off. Sorry, can you see my screen? All right, cool. Thank you. Okay, so yeah, back to what I was saying. Yeah. So this is. I'm sorry, I barely name my frames, so I don't know. Basically, just like the important ones, yeah. But you see all these groups that are inside. God knows I don't. I mean, I'll not lie to you guys. It's not a habit. It's not something I am used to, Sha, but I'm trying to get used to it because it's important to an extent. So just for organization's sake, Sha. So let's basically put this in order. So this is our image, this is the name of the person. So let's start by round this off. I think did I use 6 for here? Let me check. So this was 6. Although 6 is not an increment of 4, but honestly speaking, 8 was too much here. I just reduce this a bit, like so. Then basically auto layout this. I think 8 is fine. Then bring it together, auto layout them as well. I think 4 is fine. Then bring it together, auto layout, and I think 12 is okay. Yeah. Then I can also auto layout all of them again. Sorry, basically just increase the padding around them. So let me just say 12. I think I use 16. Just add a few so I can see what I'm doing better. Yeah, so 16 and 16, yeah. Okay, so then maybe I think I can make this 8. Then yeah, so I think let me add a layout grid here, Sha, so I can see this, so I can easily just align things better. So this is count doesn't really matter, Sha. So just let's say 16, 16. Then I think I'd like to say this, Sha. It's not everything you auto layout though. Don't mind me hitting Shift A. When I designed this, I didn't even use auto layout for this one because it's not always important, Sha. Basically, just to help you like even things out properly. Maybe like when you're trying to space, or maybe when you're trying to let me hide this one, or maybe when you're trying to like work on something in a more cohesive manner, you might need to auto layout. But your buttons definitely, your cards to an extent, maybe the elements that are probably like close to each other, you can easily just auto layout those ones. Sorry, give me a sec. I'm trying to let me mute this mic.
Sorry, can you hear me? Guys, can you hear me? Let me know, please. Just type or something. Things after my life. Yes, I don't know if you noticed, but MTN is really bad tonight. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why, but God help me. So, like I said, it's not a big deal to always auto layout your stuff. Oh, please, I'm even doing it too much. It just helps you like arrange your things a lot better, and that's the beauty of it. Yeah, but certain times you might just want to not even do it at all. So sometimes when I designed this, like I said, I didn't even use an auto layout. I just like this is the background frame. I put everything inside and just aligned it like so. Oh, it's supposed to be 16. So since I want this to be on the edge, I can basically move the auto layout and just constrain it properly like so. Make sure this fits in. Let me auto layout this one. It's 12, 16, 16. I think I used 8. Yeah, 8, not 12. That's why. The spacing between these two is 8 and 16. Yeah, I think that's okay. Even if we're not getting, don't have to like bother about this edge, yeah. So at least the content inside is far away from the frame. That's the entire point. And the reason why I use a brighter shade of this gray here is just to create like some level of elevation, yeah. So and just improve the contrast over here. So I can just chunk this a bit, make sure it's 16, and that's how I did that. Then for this button, it's quite simple. Basically a text and an icon that I auto layouted together. But like I said, this is yeah. Let me just bring this here, Sha. This is going to recreate this. For those that don't know how I did this, it's basically just a text. Let me just improve the contrast here. See, this is a text, yeah, and this is an icon. Okay, so you can see. Basically, this is what we call a button in Figma, yeah. And buttons are basically actions. And so since this is the side menu, there are a lot of actions to be taken here, right? So all of these things here are designed to be buttons. As aside from this one, this is basically just like a label, the person's name, what the person does, and the experience level. So I can just put this together and auto layout, then make this 16, make this 16, then basically add a fill, which is the secondary blue. Then basically just change the color of this one to maybe yeah, maybe something like this. Then I round the corners to 8. Sorry, why is it not rounded? Okay, let me click which first. So I round the corners to 8, and that's a button. Just because I want it to like completely be on the same level. Yeah, like I said, 16 pixels apart from each other. I'll just like move it this way, just stretch it like this. And you notice that the text and the icon stays at the center. So if you look at this auto layer property here on the right, this layout is basically just this icon here is the text. So wherever I basically put this, it's just follow like so. Yeah. So I want this to be at the left side of the screen. So I'll just put it on the left like this. If you don't know what a padding is basically like the spacing around, you know, an auto layout box or an auto layout frame. So this is what we call horizontal padding, which is basically the distance horizontally. Vertical is the distance vertically, yeah. So that is a button. Then for this, how I designed this was this is a label, right? And what a label means in this case is basically highlighting a group of related elements, right? So I label this work, and these are possible buttons that are inactive as of this time. So let's say this is a live product, and somebody clicks on this particular button now, it just becomes active, right? Showing that there was a possibility for that action to be taken. So this is basically what we just call an inactive state, showing that these are actions, but they have not been clicked. So when you now click on them, they now take this particular state, which is the active state of the side menu here. So basically, this is just another button like this one, right? But this time, no fill, no stroke, just the text on the inside. And like I said, these are just placeholder icons. I was heavily focused on getting the layout and the entire design of what I was doing, so I didn't really edit the icons. So just know that all you need to just do is just replace the icons. And I hope to put this on the Figma community share. So let's say when I've edited all of these things proper and gotten the proper icons, I'll just publish to the community and you can check it out in a better way. But essentially, these are buttons which mean possible actions to be taken, and yeah, that's basically what it's all about. And some people might want to basically have. Let me remove this here. Photo layout. Have this icon somewhere, this text somewhere here, which is also fine. There's nothing wrong with this layout, but for some reason, I just wanted it to be at that side. And if you notice that before I move this away, I had to remove the auto layout from the right because auto layout is very very tricky. Sha. It can confine your work. It doesn't give you that control that you might need sometimes. But it's good for layout. It's good for that arrangement and organization to give the elements on the inside, accurate spacing, accurate padding, all of those things. But at the same time, you don't have to always constrain yourself to auto layout. I don't use them so often like that. But for when I want to make sure that my elements are properly arranged, or I want to group something in a better way, or I'm creating my buttons, I always use auto layout. So if I just like go back a bit, Control Z on my keyboard, I just go back and that's just the way it was before, yeah. So basically, these are buttons to save time. I don't think I should be creating this from scratch, but let me just create this one so I show everybody. It's basically the same thing like I said before. Yeah, this is a button, no fill, no stroke. If I had a fill, you'll be able to see it here. So there's no fill at the time, then just the text and the icon on the inside. So basically, I can just duplicate this like so, duplicate again, select all of them and just create an auto layout for them because I want that arrangement. And this is basically what is here. The difference is just this work, which I created this here. This is 8, so I'll just make this 8. And yeah, this is an icon. So basically, when you see this is what we call a chevron in design. So when you see something like this here, it's basically just telling you that something can be taken, something can happen here. So a chevron, there's top chevron, there's left, there's right, there's bottom. You can call this arrows here, but in the actual like UI design or icon design environment, we'll call this a chevron. So this is chevron down or chevron bottom. So essentially, what this means is that there's an action to be taken here, right? But I didn't design this. This just tells the client or the customer or the consumer that something can happen when you click on this here. And let me show you what I mean. I designed something similar one time. Let's go to my portfolio. So as you can see, this was like a question bank. So as you can see, this is a side menu. This was an action. So when you click on that particular chevron, it now points upwards. Yeah, showing that actions at the bottom have come down. So they're not visible to the audience or visible to the client or to the consumer to take. So this is now the active state of this particular area. So this is active. This is we can call this sub-active share. This line just shows you that there are actions to be taken here. All these things are inside of this particular one, right? So this is just a use case of the chevron I was talking about. So as I've seen it here, this is the collapse state of the chevron, and this is the state that shows all the things that are under it or the possible actions to be taken under it. So yeah, so that's that. So making progress. I can just copy this icon like so, click on this click on this particular frame on the inside and just paste it. You can see that it just comes to the right, but I want it to constrain itself to the right side of the screen. So when Figma updated, I think a couple of months ago, there was something called packed and space between. Packed means like um, the element will be all together. Yeah, no matter what happens, they'll just the spacing just basically between the elements that are basically in the same frame or the same group. Yeah. Then the space between just basically means I don't know the amount of space in between them, right? In terms of pixels. As you can see, the space between these two now is 8 pixels. But if I the previous update or the previous version of Figma, you have to switch to space between. If you wanted a situation whereby if you increase the let's say the width of this frame, the icon will just be on the right side. So since they removed that update, the only way to do this is just to like double click here. So I think I pasted this wrongly. No, correct. So I'll just double click here and see it switches to auto, right? So this is how it was before. When I double click at the center here, it switches to auto. And what auto means is that the space between these two is automatic, right? So if I keep on increasing this frame like this, okay, I think just because this is clicked. If I keep on increasing the frame like this, yeah. Sorry, this one. This icon will just be on the right. It's just keep on following the frame, right? But in the other version, which is or the other version which is packed, this is just shows you that this text and this icon is just 8 pixels in between them, right? So that's basically what it does. So when you want this to happen, you just double click on the auto layout there, and that's how you get it. So that's how I just created this. Yeah, quite simple. So basically the same thing for these two. Go duplicate them like so. This is auto layout this to 24, and this is 24 as well. Then I don't know if I should design this one now. It's not so important. So let me just make progress with the main design itself to save time. Yeah. Okay, so going back to the primary design, you see that this is the logo. I just call this product Orbit. Yeah. This is the logo. This is basically a search bar or a search navigation. And this is the name of the person and basically a profile or a highlight of the person. And this is notifications, right? So let me just basically put all this together. Let me just copy this nav bar. Sorry. Copy this nav bar. And just paste it here, yeah. Move this a bit. So this is a logo I got from a plugin, and this is something this is basically the search bar I designed from scratch. So I don't know if I should do this again. It's not entirely difficult. Basically, it's basically an auto layout here. You have your text, which is the search. You have the icon, which is representing search as well. Then this is basically just a command, a shortcut, basically Command K. When the client or the consumer looks at this, so in case they want to quickly just search something, instead of maybe hovering all the way with their mouse to this particular area of this on the screen, they can just basically hit Control and K together, and they get their they are able to access that search feature, right? So, like I said, this is basically like, let me just bring this down. This is a text. This is an icon, an auto layout, and basically I added a little bit of shadow here, just for elevation sake, to just bring it above the background, right? A bit. So that's basically how I designed that. Then I don't think I copied this. Okay, this is not even inside this. Just realized no inside. Anyways, so yeah. So this is basically the name. This is the picture of the person's name, the person's at, then a chevron to show that an action can be taken there. And this is basically just a notification bell I designed, right? and all of that. So if you're wondering the icon I use, I think it's ViewSax. Yeah, it's ViewSax. I just have this component I use here most of the time for my Web3 design. So if I'm doing anything for Web3, I just come here and just pick from the components. I've forgotten where I got this library from, but it's super helpful. It's packed and it's quite heavy. So it's trying to load at the same time. So this is where I get my icons from. The icons I use to design. It has this is a component, I can easily just change from time to time. So yeah, so that's how I design this top nav. These are the only things that are there. I just felt that these are the important things in my opinion. So let's just jump into the design proper, yeah. So now we have the name of the person, and I always scream this though when I talk about like my work on Twitter. I always say people should mirror on their web or on their browser when they are designing. So this is basically how the design will look like in real life. So you can always go to figma.com/mirror and you can just see your design like the way it is. This is helpful because it gives you an overview of everything you are doing in terms of layout, in terms of color, in terms of contrast. And even when you're prototyping, you don't always have to switch to prototype mode. Once you've created the prototype already inside, you can just come to Mirror and you can easily interact with everything you have designed inside of Figma. So it's just very, very important that you always do this. I think the use case, the only time I don't do this at all is when I'm designing for Tab. And I've done design for Tab once because there was a product I worked on for a client that required a tab view. Since I don't have a tablet, I was just basically like using my head, to basically understand if the text were too big or too small. But if you have a tablet at your disposal, just log into your Figma on that tablet, and once you just click on any frame instead of your Figma when you're designing, right? Be it your browser version or the mobile or the desktop version of Figma, whatever it is you're working on will just show there, right? And it just take the shape of that particular device. So it's important. I will always recommend this, please. It's very important. So yeah, going back to Figma. So this is basically just like a welcome message. Welcome back, Jenna. Let's get you a job. And what a dashboard is a dashboard is basically like an overview of a lot of things, right? So the designer or the company will prioritize the things that are supposedly important, right? And just they'll look for a way to basically just highlight it inside of Figma or inside of the design you're trying to work on. So yeah, like I said, this is basically a product that just helps designers apply for jobs or track their jobs and even get reviews on their portfolio. There are also resources for them. This is purely fictional, just for the sake of this exercise. So have that in mind. So as always, it's very important to make your product feel human or have that human touch to it. So, and one of the ways I did that was to just welcome the person back to the product, right? And assure the person that while they are here, we are working, we are trying to help them, achieve a particular goal, which is to get them a job. So now let me explain this real quick. This is a title, total applications. This is basically a small drop down menu to filter based on time, right? So all time, because of time, I didn't design this model, but if a client or a consumer or a user clicked on this, what would just drop down would be basically a small model that just shows the options of months of the year, depending on what is going to be put on the product. Yeah, it could be month, it could be week, but month is also very okay because if I just switch to the right, you see that this is August. So all time is basically the it's basically the application that they've done since they created their account on the product, right? Then if they switch to monthly, the monthly will basically just be the applications they have done for that particular month, right? So this is August and this is 78. So if I was to design a model for this, what would be in the model would be all time, which is uh the number one, basically like the summary of everything so far. Then they want to now filter based on, sorry, it's want to now filter based on each month or monthly. So we now have each month, maybe they have August, they have July, and so on and so forth. So that's basically what I did here. So this is a title. As you can see, this is 16. We're still using that type scale, don't forget. Then this is also 12 all time, and this is basically an icon. This is just a quick auto layout, as you can see. There's a fill, there's a stroke, and I just made this to be 6. So this should be 16. I bring this down a bit. Yeah, 16. So yeah, then this is, as you can see, this is what I want the user to see at first glance. So I've laid out in a way that it is big. So basically the size of the text as well as the weight of the type or weight of the font. So this is 28. If you go back to our type scale, you see we have 28 here, 28.4. As you can see, I didn't round this off because zero point 0.4 is not up to 1, right? So this is 28. So as you can see, we have 28 there. Then this is manage, which is an action. And as you can see, this is our primary color, which is blue. I said blue is the primary color, right? So manage is an action for the user to probably see all the applications and what happened there. Yeah. Then pending is basically the ones that have that are still processing. So we don't know if if they were successful or if they failed or if they were rejected. So they're still pending, and this is basically a filter based on the month at the time. So this is successful, and as you can see, successful is basically the ones that came through, the gigs the person got, and all of those things. Yeah, and this is the number, and this is also an action, also to filter based on months. I think I need to adjust all of this. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, 1 to 16. So rejected is basically the ones that did not work, obviously, and yeah, the action, the number, and the drop down or whatever. Sorry, I don't know if my voice is audible because I'm using my PC's mic. It's not so clear most of the time. My phone is acting up, so I don't know why. I'm just using my PC. So I hope everybody has been hearing me. So if you are not hearing me, let me know, please. So I will find a remedy. Thank you. So how did I go about this design? It's quite simple. Let me just copy one and paste it here. Okay, I forgot to talk about this. So this is 16. Let me show the layout grid. So this is 16. Remember, our spacing is by 4, so I'm just trying to keep it consistent. At certain times, you might want to break the rule, and it's fine. So have that in mind. So I think I heard something. Sorry, Kenny, you want to say something?
Okay, sorry, that was a mistake.
Okay, all right, cool. So as much as the 4 pixel is good, there are some times that you might probably want maybe an increment of 2, which I did here. As you can see, this is 6. 8 will also work here, but I just feel it to be too big, right? So let me try and mirror this and show you. I just feel it to be too big, right? So that's why I just use 6. So please have it in mind that rules are there for you to follow, but at the same time, it's okay to break them if, in your honest opinion, they are going to be for the better. So just have that in mind, yeah. So yeah, this is basically a frame. Some people may auto layout this, but there's no need. So I'll just draw a frame like this, yeah. So I hit F on my keyboard, draw a frame. And if you notice here, that's why I have 12 columns. So 12 columns basically helps me space things out better. And remember, the spacing in between them is 24. So this is 1, 2, 3, right? 3 plus 3 is 6, 6 plus 3 is 9, 9 plus 3 is 12. So now it means I can have 4 cards here evenly spaced out by 24 pixels, right? And I can even decide to just okay. Let me just draw this first, yeah. So this is I think I used 50 here. So this is a fill of 50. The stroke is 500. I think 12. So this is a text total applications. Let's make this 16. Then as you can see, this is just the whatever the drop down. So I should design this from scratch. I feel like I'm rushing, but because of time, this is basically just a text and an arrow, and you can auto layout this. I think okay, I made this 88, so 88. Then I can have a fill of say 200, right? Yeah. Then the stroke is 400. Like I said before, I have like two different shades I use for my grays. So this is for the background and for my borders and my separators. And so this is it. And that's how I designed it, yeah. Quite easy. So let's hide this like so. One, two, three, four, and one. So 16, 16, yeah. Then this is 78. And this color is the secondary color, a darker version of the secondary color. Then let's put this like so. Then yeah, this is a button. I think I put this together so they'll be on the same line. Then space them out evenly. Then just drag. Yeah, 16. So I think I can just increase this height a bit. Doesn't really matter. So if you want them to probably be spaced out in that same four pixel grid, whatever, maybe 36 is like a multiple of 4. So 36 plus 4 is probably 40. So we can just say, let me just bring this down. So this is 40, yeah. Just minus this by 2. Sorry, minus 2. You can do math inside of Figma on your panel. Minus. Why is my minus not working? That's weird though. Just use the arrow key. I only put minus there and put 2 and input. So yeah, I think this one was a bit higher, Sha. So I think this was 150. Just make it 150. Constrain it to the bottom. So when it's resizing, it's like that. So 150. And that's that. So I'll just shift and drag. Then duplicate, right? Then maybe if I want, like I want to lay out them, Sha. So yeah, that's about it. So I forgot to bring this one here. Just paste it. So we're still using the same grid thing. This is 21 and this is 21, right? This is just basically the medium, and I use a lighter version for contrast and a darker version as well. So this is the important message. Yeah. Welcome back, Janet. Is a message. It's a greeting. But between these two, this is more important. This takes more prominence. So your visual design, you make sure that this is shown like that. So let's get to a job. That's why I want the user to see first, or at least easily just see when they look at the entire screen. So this is uh, the semi-bold of the epilogue typeface, and this is 21. As you can see, our type scale 21 is it's part of our type scale. So yeah, so I think that's how I go about this. So maybe I can just make this 24. Sorry, there's no command door. Let me quickly take that and get back to you guys. Sorry, yeah, someone's at my door. So yeah, we're making progress. So that's just how I designed this in the previous design. So now moving forward, let me hide the UI. So now this is basically what we call a table, right? This can be quite tricky, Sha. And there are two ways to design tables. So I learned this last year from somebody. I just posted on my status and I was like, I'm having troubles like designing tables, and a friend of mine fixed like a session with me. Just like real quick, under 30 minutes, he explained to me how he designs tables because he's like heavy on SaaS. And if you know SaaS very well, SaaS requires a lot of table design and layout and all of those things. So what I understood here was there are certain times that when you're creating things like this, some things will be fixed, right? So I'm not sure what your experience level in Figma is, but I'll try and explain table design to the best of my knowledge. This is very, very important, yeah. So there are two ways to design this. This is the first way. So this is a horizontal table, right? And what this means is that all this content like this is going from left to the right, or like this, they're on the same line, right? There's certain times where you probably want or use cases where you might want to design it this way is, let's say in your company now they're heavy on interaction, right? There's something called hover state, right? So hover state is basically when the mouse cursor is here, what happens, right? Something should happen. So it can just be as little as even this entire frame changing color, right? Or maybe just getting a bit darker or a bit brighter to just show that okay, this is a possible interaction. Mostly for web. For mobile, you don't really require, hover state and all of those things. Yeah. So now, if maybe where you're working requires a lot of like hover state and all those things, you have to design them. You probably want to consider this working on your tables in a horizontal manner like this. But I prefer the vertical table because it gives more control, right? But the I think the only demerit so far, to the best of my understanding, is the fact that you probably cannot add interactions because everything on the same line like this are actually related. Let me hide this UI. For instance, now this is a company. This is a picture. Mastercard Global. Role is senior graphic designer, remote UK. This is the salary, work type, status, and the dates. Right. This is a this is an information that is like obviously related. Yeah. So now, if for instance now you're not doing any interaction at all, or you are not looking for the best possible way to get your layout, I would recommend the vertical table. I will design that shortly now so we understand. But essentially, I use this horizontal one because there could be an interaction like on later stage. Because if you look at this now, yeah, you see that this checkbox is active. And let me show you what I mean. When I was gathering inspiration, this was something I used to basically reference my idea. As you can see now, this is a mouse cursor, right? And this mouse cursor is hovering on this very line, right? And this very line, or maybe I think he's not even hovering. He has already clicked, yeah. So I think he clicked, and this becomes active. And if you notice, if I zoom in a bit, you can see that there's a little bit of gray, like on the background, to show that this has been selected together with this checkbox on the left, yeah. So that's the entire idea of what I'm trying to say here. So certain times when you're having those kind of interactions, you probably want to use the horizontal table. So let me just quickly walk you through both tables as fast as possible. Yeah. So now this is the header or the title, and each of these elements here, please, this is an auto layout. It's very important. When you're designing tables, you need to have them in auto layout. So when you're basically adding new things, they just basically fall in place. For instance, if I copy this, Control C, Control V, although it messed up the entire thing because this entire frame cannot occupy more content. But if it was the vertical table, it will align better, and I will just have to duplicate it on the bottom as well. But essentially, what I'm trying to say is I created all these elements, right? And I determined some like how they will react with other elements on this particular frame. So this text now is, if you look at the side menu, it is fixed. So now in my head, when I design this, anything that will come under here, right? At most, this is how wide they will be, 235 pixels. Yeah. So all of these company names, all of these things that are on this, that are like under this title, are within this 235 bounding box, right? This width, as you can see, 235, 235, 235. Yeah. So when you design tables like this, there are certain times you probably want to fix things, right? Like the width, you determine the fixed width. So Basically, I just telling Figma that this is the maximum level I want my content to occupy. Like I just want my content to just be within this particular distance or this particular number of pixels, right? Which is 235. So all of this content here are under 235. So as you can see, it's just fixed. It didn't change. If I click on this frame now, you can see 235, like so. Let me just take this as a reference and design it from scratch, right? Inside this our other page. So let me just paste this here and drag it inside. So now I'll just type everything out and just do the constraint by myself. So company slash hiring team, right? This is a title. Just drag it. Then we have role. Then we have salary. Then we have work type. We have status and we have date. Yeah. Then we have dates. Then obviously we have the checkbox in its empty states. So I'll just select all of this, yeah, and just create an auto layout. Now, first things first, I will just basically center align all of them, or at least place them at the center of the frame. Then double click to create an automatic horizontal gap in between them. So I'm not bothered about the number counts. If I once I resize the parent frame, they will just follow like that. That is, the space between them will always remain consistent. Yeah. So this is 1104. Let me make this 1104 like so. Now I'll just keep on playing around with this particular frame now. So this, okay, let me go back to this design. If as you can see here, this is probably the longest, I think. Yeah, this is the longest. This is the largest width in terms of content, right? This is because nothing will probably be longer than this particular frame, right? So if I just go to this particular frame, this particular page rather, I'll just basically just drag it. Everything will just keep on filling. So I think that one was 235, right? And for the role should not be too long. Basically, I think this was the longest thing here. So I just made sure that there was more space just in case. So 220 was what I used for the row here, as you can see, 220. Go back to design and impute 220. Once you automatically add a custom width for, let's say, a text that is inside of an auto layout, automatically the property switches from when it is hubbed to now a fixed width. That is for the horizontal resizing. Then for salary, I think this was what I used for salary. I used 97. So basically just, as you can see, 97 for the salary. Then just go here, click on salary. And if you easily want to enter and let's say click an element that is inside of a frame, or that, let's say you have multiple frames, yeah, and you want to click one element. So instead of clicking, control click on that element to just take you directly into that frame, right? So as you can see, I just control click and I'll get here. So normally I have to click once, click again before I enter. But if I control click, I get there once. So for salary, salary is 97. Just change the width to 97. Then work type is 170. Sorry, 170, not 70. Then for status is 131. While the date is 98, like so. One oh four, 104. Okay. So now, this is basically our title. So when you're designing a table or a horizontal table, in this case, the first thing you want to do is to just make sure that this you have designed your title, right? Or a label, whatever you want to call it, because the content that are coming under them, right, will basically take the same property. At least I'm very sure of the width. The width will probably not change. The height might change. For instance, now if you look at this design now that has, see this frame now, the height is 60, right? This one, the height is 88. Now, obviously there's a change, but the width remain the same. Most of the time your width will not be changing property, because once it changes, and since it's an auto layout, it will affect it immediately. So even if there's a slight pixel difference or a slight pixel change in your design, as far as an auto layout, it will just act weirdly to misbehave, right? Because now if I say I want to reduce this fixed width now to, let's say, as little as even 210, yeah, you see that if I draw my ruler now, yeah, if I put a ruler, you can see that it is no longer on the same value, or at least on the same line, right? So the width will not change most of the time. Anything that will probably change in the property of a table is usually the height. So your width for horizontal tables are usually set to a fixed difference, yeah. So this is 220. See, like I see, it has gone back, right? So that's basically what I mean by your width being constant all through. So back to our practice. So I think this was 20 and 16, yeah. So the vertical padding was 20, horizontal was 16, added a fill of I think 400. Okay, 500, yeah. Then my gray was 300 from my style. But I'm someone that will never use the thickest version of black in my design, because honestly, I will not advise that. Even white, I don't use the brightest shade of white. As you can see, my what's it called? This shade you're seeing here, right? It's almost like white, but if you look at the property, it is FD FD FD, just like one shade away from the brightest shade of white. Yeah. So that's about that. So I can just make this 8 around the corners, like so, and that's our title. Now for the actual design, now let me bring a reference so it's easier for us to understand. So I'll just copy one like so, then just paste it here. Let me just delete this one since we designed this. Okay. So now we are trying to recreate this here. So this is our reference. So we're not doing it from scratch, because everything here will basically follow the same width of our title. Yeah. So I'll just drag it down like so. I'll just remove the fill for now. Then this is an image, right? So since I added an image into this particular frame now, I'll first of all create an auto layout for this frame, so that the elements that will be inside here will not affect, because if I just drag this circle inside now, right, like this, it's going to affect the entire layout of what I'm already designing. But since this title was just a standard, and I've determined the exact width I want for every content that'll be under this design, yeah, I'll just make sure that if I'm creating anything, it should be inside a frame or an auto layout that will just constrain it to that same width. So I'll just hit Shift A on my keyboard. Uh, what I'll now do is just copy this image or the circle here, 32, control click inside of that auto layout I created and paste it in. Then I'll just bring it to the right like this. Then I will hold content so that whatever is inside will just be inside, will be constrained into that frame. Because if I don't, it will just be messy, as you can see. So just switch to hold content. As you can see, it is still 235. Oh, sorry. Give me a sec. Already messed up this thing. So this is 235, 275. It's a mistake somewhere. Just undo, 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 undo. So we're keeping it into this same 235 frame. Then Control V. Let me say something. Yeah, org. Oop. It's mhm. Okay. Sorry, there. No wonder. 235. Okay. So sorry. There was another frame on top of that frame, so I had to remove it first. So basically, I'm just keeping the width, so I cannot maybe put this as view container sha. So basically, the text will just be inside of the frame. Remember, this is what we're looking for. This is what we're like trying to get. Make sure that this does not change. 235 frame does not change. So yeah, I can just okay. Let me just add everything before I begin to change the color or improve the like contrast. I mean, so for the row 220, 220, yeah. And this is an auto layout that is going downwards. Yeah, it is a vertical auto layout. So what I'll just do is to shift A, arrow down, copy this one, go in, paste. Yeah, I think this is 8. This is 8. If you notice that the frame increased in height, that's because the height of this particular element changed. So the height of the parent frame will also influence because I'm basically just like I'm hugging it inside. Yeah. If the height was fixed, the height will not change. But since the property for the parent frame is to hug the contents that are inside, so whatever I'm placing inside of the frame or inside of the auto layout will just hug it and just take that shape. So yeah, I'll just maybe make this. I think this is 500. Improve the contrast there. Just copy this and just paste it. Mastercard. And for the salary did not change here. The height did not change, so I'll just copy, paste, full time, copy, paste. Sorry, copy and paste inside. Then for the status, same thing as well. But as you can see, I didn't create a style for this because it was just one color. So I'll just copy and paste, copy and paste. And in terms of contrast, yeah. So basically, I just tried to when I worked on this, I told myself that I asked myself a certain question that which do I think is the most important piece of information on the screen. So now, obviously, I think oh Jesus, I went to mask hide. So obviously now I would want to see the name of the company, right? As well as the picture of the company. Then I think the role was supposed to be let me undo so I see what I deleted. Yeah, senior graphic designer. That's the role. Remote UK. This is the salary, full time, in progress, and the date the person applied. So basically, in terms of visual contrast, this is more important than this. So I just emphasize that this is an increased weight. Let me just show the Figma panel again. Sorry. This is um this is a 500 gray. This is a 400 gray, and you can see this is semi bold and this is medium. So salary is also as bold as possible. Then this is not so important. Then this is showing the status. Yellow just shows it's in progress, and that is date. So that's basically how I created this from scratch. So now, um, yeah. So I think I'll just add a border. Some people might just do it like the old-fashioned way and just probably draw a line. This is what we call a separator. Then just auto layout it to this one. And let's say 0. But there's no need to do that since it's already a frame, right? You can just basically create a stroke, and you can first of all remove the corners. Oh, sorry, the radius there. So basically, I will just change this to the bottom, right? So I basically want the stroke to be only at the bottom of the frame, right? This is basically called a separator in design. So I'll just make this 500, not so bright. It's there, but it's not there at the same time. Just show the person that okay, oh, there's a space just to divide the content. So I'll just drag and drop like so. Then Control D to duplicate, Control D, Control D, Control D. Yeah, I think 7. So I'll select all of them like so. Auto layout them again. No single space between them, so I'll make it 0. And I can auto layout it to this one as well with the title and also make it 0. That's basically how I designed the horizontal table. 1, 2, 3. So now the other approach I was talking about is the vertical table, yeah. And the vertical table now is probably my favorite type of table, to be honest. So as you can see now, instead of having the elements grouped line by line like this, I'm grouping them in columns and not rows. This is what I mean. So let me just move this aside, right? Let's call this table. Let me just copy the title and paste it back here. So now I'll just have the content here, right? Let's say content hiring team, sorry, company / hiring team. Let me copy this one as well. Let's say like now, so the row table now is basically having everything on the same row. But now the column is this is basically what the column is now. So I will design everything column by column now instead of row by row. Instead of having the title as one, I will design the title first. Let's say company / hiring team. I'll auto layout this one, yeah, and say just what's the height of this? This is okay. This is 20, yeah. So this is 20 and this is 16, and I'll add the fill of 300. Sorry, 500, yeah. Right. So now this is an auto layout. Then for this one, basically the same thing. Let me just undo this shell. So let me just select all them auto layouts as well. Then I'll also determine the height of this one. This is, let me say I make this one 16. This is 16 is too much. So 12 and let's say 12. Yeah. No, 16. It has to be 16. And let's say the height of the other frame is different. So now what I'll do now is I'll also add like a stroke to the bottom like before. Yeah. Then I'll select these two and I'll create an auto layout. Now what this means is that these two are now a group, right? And as you can see, the auto layout is going vertically, right? From top to bottom, right? This is basically left to right, but we're going top to bottom, vertical auto layout. So I'll just say fill container, right? I want this to fill the container and stay on the left, please. So now I'll just select this auto layout, Control C, Control V, Control V, Control V, Control V, Control V, right? So let's say I might not add a corner radius here, like so. This is an auto layout. This is a table, right? This is just one column, by the way. And for row now, yeah. So row this is basically what we have for row, right? They have to be the same thing in terms of heights. The width now might not really matter for the column table, but the height is very important. So now this is okay. This is the title, yeah. So Shift A. I think this one was 16 for the horizontal padding, 20 for the what am I doing? 20 for the vertical padding, And yeah, so make sure it's the same height with this one. 56, as you can see, the height is 56 six as well. So I add a fill of 500. Then maybe around the corners, sharp. But these corners I will do them later. But yeah, so we have this like so, and the height of this one is 64. We have 16 and we have 16. We might not use the exact values, but we have to make sure that it gets to the same height of this one, because the spacing between them is what? Spacing between them is zero, right? So we want it to be zero. So let's say we increase to 12. Yes, so 12 would be enough. Yeah. Then the the padding on the inside will be 16. That is, the horizontal padding will be 16. So we'll do the same thing. We add a stroke to the bottom and make it 500. Yeah. Then we'll select these two, add an auto layout, zero pixels in between them. Select this frame, switch to view container, constraint to the left. Yeah. So like I said, the the height has to matter, but the width can vary, right? So I'll just select this, Control C, Control V, Control V, Control V, Control V, Control V, right? This is another table. So now if I select these two like this and see they're the same height, this is 440 and this is 440. Yeah. If I select these two, hit auto layout, space between them is zero. So now, since these two will be together, there's no point in having the corners rounded. That is these two corners here. So I'll just go into my constraint, and this thing reads from top left. This is top left. This is top right. This is bottom right, and this is bottom left. So we're going like clockwise, yeah, the way a clock goes. So we're starting from top left, which we don't need, so we make it zero. Uh, we don't need the bottom right. In fact, we don't need any of them. So let's just quickly make everything zero, right? And for this particular one, now this is the one that we probably need just the top left and the bottom left, yeah. So the top right and the bottom right can be on zero. So this is top right is zero, bottom right is zero, right? As you can see, it's just this edge that stays. So same thing goes for the salary, yeah. Let's just copy salary from here. Make sure that the salary is the same height of 64. Remember, so I think 20 pixels. I'll take 24. Yeah, 24 is good. Then the width doesn't really matter, but let's just make the padding inside 16. Let's keep the padding equal. Add a stroke to the bottom. Make it 500. Then yeah, same thing. So we can just basically copy this one and call it salary. And auto layout it 0. Now the good thing, the reason why I really like the column auto layout is basically now instead of always having to like create from scratch, I can just Control C, Control V, duplicate, yeah, and it just goes like that. It just goes like that, yeah. But there's certain times that maybe you have, let's say, because we have this is so we have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? We have 6 of what's it called? We have 6, let's say, columns, right? And this is 1, 2, 3, 4. When I say that the space is probably not going to be enough, that's when you now start determining the sizes of the width. That's the length of each of the elements on each frame, right? So, for instance, now this. Okay, let me make salary. Let me just say salary and say I'm removing this one. As you can see, as I deleted that one, it automatically affected everything. So that's one thing about the column table. Once the smallest of heights changes, yeah, there's even a 1 pixel difference. It will affect the entire layout because as you can see, why all these are separate columns, yeah, they are on the same line because they have the same height, as you can see. But when one height changes, it becomes a problem. So since I deleted that one, I now have to make sure that it is 64 again, right? So I changed the vertical padding from 12 to 24 and make sure that the height is 64, right? So that's about that. Then I'll copy the salary value, Control C, then enter here and I'll paste it. Yeah. So that's the salary. So I'll just delete these ones. Delete. Then I'll just copy this one, Control C, Control V, Control V, Control V, Control V. So if someone wants to join. So Control V, all of them like that. So as you can see, it's on the same line. But as you can see, there's a lot of space here, yeah, and we don't need this space. This space here can go to, let's say, another content, yeah, because we still have to add full time, sorry, work type, yeah. So now what I'll just do is I will just constrain it like this. I'll just like shrink it. As you can see, that the content side is not interacting with the frame, and that's because it's unfixed. So if I switch to view container, sorry, give me a sec. Sorry, I'll first of all switch this to view container, yeah. And this should also, or let me just put it as hog, sure. So yeah, so this is basically the column table. As you can see, it is all on the same line, all on the same vertical line, all on the same horizontal line. But now the difference now is that we are not designing it by columns and not by rows. As you can see, this might look more efficient. I beg your pardon. It is actually, in my opinion. But for the sake of interaction, if you have to interact on the table, right, you might need to have it in rows because honestly, if I'm prototyping something like this, yeah, and since these are related, I forgot to add this checkbox. So sorry. So let me find a way to add this. So let me say to the left, spacing between them. Let me say 16. And I'll just copy each of them like this and just paste it. And the spacing in between them will be 16. Sorry. There we go. I have to auto layout this one. Then the spacing in between this. Because if I don't auto layout that one, it will affect the entire like space. So this will be 16, like so. Instead of doing for the same thing, I'll just delete all these ones and just copy this one and just paste it like so. So yeah. So we have salary, we have, so next is work type, yeah. Work type. Just delete this one, sorry. So full time. Control V. And remember, it has to be the same height. So we're trying to make it be 24 pixels. It's be on the same line. Just delete these ones like so. Just Control C and just paste to just automatically just line up like that. So same thing, since there's too much space here, we can just shrink it down like so. If these are not interacting, we just select them and just put view container. So when we're dragging this, they'll just follow like that. Just view, please. Okay, hug is okay. So select all of them and just hug it. Yeah. So that's for work type. And there's a mistake. Something has happened. 56, 50. So you see. So I don't know what happened here. That's weird. It's 20 now. That's one thing about this column. So if you okay. Automatically this became 60, yeah. So I think because we added this element, so it affected the height of the frame. So we have to basically just make sure everything goes like that. So everything has to be 60. That's each title has to be 60. So 22. Yeah. So also, if you want to add a separator line, I'll probably just cut across them like this. But in this table we designed, though, that is this one. As you can see, I did not use any like vertical separator line. But just for the sake of you adding, if you don't want to add, yeah, you have to do it for each of like the individual auto layout inside of the parent one. So let's go to select this one. So from the stroke properties now, not just bottom, you also go to custom and add for the right. This is left. For the right, make the right 1 pixel. So if I move my mouse, you can see that there's a separator line here. Yeah, as you can see. So that's basically how you just do it for each of them. So if you want to do that, you just instead of doing it for each of them, just delete one, copy this one, Control C, Control V, and that's basically how you get the line. Yeah. So let's just quickly finish up this one and just wrap up everything. So we have work type, we have so what's left is status and date. Yeah. So status is basically something like this, nothing too serious as well. Just Control C, Control V, make this status, just paste it like so. Oh, paste it like so. Jesus. Sorry, I have to copy it again. Paste it inside the auto layouts. Just delete this one. I already messed it up. Paste. There we go. So just delete the remaining. Just select this one, Control C, and just paste it on the auto layout. Yeah. So that is for status. Then for dates, same thing. Control C this column and you paste it. No, let me just do this one instead. And paste. So I call it dates. Then I just copy from here like so. And just control click inside and control V, which is to paste. So yeah, I can delete the remaining as well. Select Control C, just continue pasting until it fills up the entire thing. So now, if I now want everything here to be on the same line with our title, okay, let's assume this one is not here. But basically, we have this entire space. Okay, let me use that as a reference. Let me keep it back there. So basically, now I want everything here, yeah, to basically be with the same weight. But if I drag, the frame will just go, but the elements are not responding to it. So now I will determine a fixed width for some of these guys, and there are some that I'll just keep on adjusting myself. So I think I'm okay with this size, or maybe I can increase it a bit like so. Then let's say for the weight, if I say few container to just fill everything like that, then I just keep on adjusting this one like so. So however I think I want it. And yeah, that is our column table. See, same thing. Okay, this I didn't make it 36 pixels, so 36. So yeah, 32, 32 apart, yeah. And voila, basically the same thing we did here, but difference is that this one is now in column. So as you can see, what is very important now for that consistency is the height. Yeah, so everything has to be on the same height. Every every frame you're working on has to be on the same height. So if you have 60 for your titles and let me just fill this up. If you have 60 for your titles and the the body content under the titles can be 64, but each of the body content has to be, the same thing. Because if this it just increases by, in fact, this is too much. This is 64 here. Let's say I increase it by 2 pixels. You can see the offset, especially when you are not having a divider that will be on each of those frames. So the slightest of pixel change will affect the entire look of that particular table. So I prefer this one anytime, any day. But if I'm designing for the sake of interaction, yeah, I know that I might be creating hover states for all of them. I mean, because when you hover on this here, it should be the entire row you're hovering on. I mean, there's a checkbox here, so you probably want everything to be like on the same row when you're hovering or when you're taking an action. Because if I go back to that inspiration thing I showed before, as you can see, everything here is on a row. This is a clicked state, I think. So this has been selected. The check is active. So the check is basically for every row, for the entire row. I beg your pardon. So you don't a situation whereby you're trying to create an interaction and you now have to be using rectangles to be drawing overlays over them. It's a hassle, right? And it's very ineffective. And since this is even auto layout, if you put anything inside here, it will affect something, right? So yeah, so I think that's about it. So basically, the difference here is just basically changing of the content and the name of the company. I didn't even bother to do for ClickUp again. Then this is basically just a highlight of, let's say, the number of elements that are being shown, the number of lines per page, and showing you that there are multiple pages for you to go through, and all of those things. Yeah. And okay, I didn't talk about this toggle. So this is basically a toggle of four states, right? We have the show all states, the in progress state, the successful state, and the rejected state. So basically, show all is basically all these are for the status of all the applications person has taken here over time. So this is show all, and show all is basically you're basically telling it's basically an overview of all the states, all the statuses of the person's application, whether it has been rejected, it's still pending, or it's in progress, or it has been successful. Yeah. So it's just like this is just a state that is just taking care of all of them at once. And if it were to be in progress, yeah, this what will show here on this column just basically only the ones that are in progress, right? Then if it were to be successful, same thing, successful. Rejected, same thing, rejected. And this filter, when I designed this in mind, basically whatever you want to filter based on, it could be by status, right? Because if I go to this, if I go to my mood board now, I got the idea from here. Yeah, and this is customized though. This person is just trying to customize based on something. But a filter design, a filter like tab or toggle is basically like based on the information that's provided on that particular product. Yeah. So if you're filtering, it could probably be by let's say by latest, you could sort by latest, you could sort by a status, or let's say based on the salary expectation, right? Because if you look at our table, you can see that um, there's there's salary, right? So maybe you might just filter based on putting an amount there, maybe a range of salary or whatever, or you filter based on work type. But I decided to keep this one here because this is probably like the most important state here. We have the show all in progress, basically, and all of that. So this, when you click on it, what will probably pop up will be a modal, like just like you're seeing here, like in this design, just a very short modal that just highlights one or two things and possible actions to be taken here. And yeah, I think that's about it. So, well, I think what's left is to design this. So, I had an idea in my head, and I thought about the product having a Chrome extension. But for you to access the Chrome extension, you have to upgrade to the Pro version. Yeah. So let me just walk through how I designed this. This card is basically like a mask. Let me just copy it and use it as a reference. So yeah, this is our this. So this is our side menu. I'll just paste it like so. Increase the height. Delete this space. Just bring it down like so. So oh, it's even I forgot it was even here. So let me explain what I did here in this design. So there was a time I explored masking. I think let me just go to my portfolio. The time I explored masking as a concept for card design. And basically, this what masking means is like you just hide some elements inside, yeah, and there's one that is prominent, or basically you're trying to blur out the edges of something into the background or into a card, and it just it's more visually appealing, yeah. That's the entire idea of masking. So basically what it means is that you design everything first as always, then you group all the elements together and make them interact with like the background frame or a frame of your choice, and you just blend. So you can use the linear gradient, you can use the radial gradient. As you can see here, this just goes across in a circular manner, and for this particular one, it's a linear gradient that is from bottom to top. So this place is like the darkest point of the design, and this top is is basically going from 100% to 0%. So we're going from the darkest possible region to the lightest possible region, yeah, which is basically what a linear gradient is. So this is radial, this is linear, this is linear, this is radial. So that's the entire idea of what I did here as well. So you're masking. So I basically just mark using a radial gradient. So firstly, I have to design the element first. Yeah. So this is an auto layout. Sure. So basically, this is the Chrome logo, and this is basically a jigsaw representing extension. Because if I go to my Chrome, you see that this is basically what it says. It's an extension. Yeah. Then these are just basic dummy lines to show that it's a text. Yeah. Nothing too serious. Then I added a drop shadow to this particular frame because I wanted it to stand out. So let me design this from scratch so you understand better. So duplicate. Let me just delete everything here. Delete this one as well. I'll leave the content. I'll leave the action button as well. So basically, copy this. Control X, Control V. So this is a group, right? Let me clip it. So this is the card I'm trying to design, and these are elements that these are visual elements that sort of communicate something, right, in the design. Like I said before, this is the Chrome logo and this is an extension. The entire idea of this card is to try and sell to the consumer that okay, we have a pack for you, and when you upgrade, you can access it, yeah, and it gives you some benefits. So, and this is basically just a header copy, a body copy. It can be even smaller, but 16 is also fine. Then we have the card I designed here. So basically, I just explained how I designed this. Nothing too serious. It's basically the Chrome logo, an extension icon, then custom breakdown I just designed. I just grouped them and auto layouted them as well. And now the fun part is the actual masking itself. So I'll just clip this so the elements are inside. Then this is the what's it called? This is the one I designed with a shadow. You notice this one don't have a shadow. This one has a shadow on the property here. So what I'll do before I bring this in, I want this element to like be prominent. Like I don't want this entire blur thing to affect this particular one, right? So to do that, I'll keep this element outside of this group. And this is what I mean. So I'll just draw a rectangle here, like so. Let's say I keep it the same weight 224, same color, sorry, the same color. I make it the primary blue. I control X, I just paste it inside like so. Then just put it at the top. Let me make it a bit darker so you'll be able to see it very well. Send it to the back. Bring it down like so. Now I'll keep it in the same color as the background. I don't change the color so you'll be able to see it. So make it 500. Let me name this elements so you can actually see it. I'm just trying to join. So so yeah, I would so you name this well. So let me call this element, yeah. Then my rectangle is here. I'll just bring it closer to the on layers panel. I'll just select two of them like this. Then I click use as a mask. The shortcut is Control Alt and M. So as you can see, nothing happens as of this time. Nothing really changes, yeah. But something happened on the layers panel. What this means is that everything inside of this group will interact with this rectangle, yeah. And for it to start, for you to actually see it happen, I have to first of all change the rectangle's property. So let's say I have to detach the star, remove the star, then I go to fill, I switch from solid to gradient, and that's where the magic happens. So you see that this is a linear gradient that is going from 0%, sorry, top to bottom here. So from top is 100%, bottom is 0%. So the farther away it is from the rect from the elements, the the lighter the gradient. As you can see, this is the radial gradient, yeah. But for this case, I used angular gradient. Sorry, I used so this is linear gradient. Sorry, for this case, I use a radial gradient, yeah. So I'm switching from linear to radial. I click on radial. As you can see, it just as the name implies, radial is basically a circle or radius, yeah. So now the mask, the blur or the gradient is interacting in a circular manner. So if I hold shift and I just like drag from here, you can see that everything here just sort of like fades away. I beg your pardon, in a circle, yeah. So I'll just fade it a little bit. I want to see some of the elements here. Just fade it a little bit like so. I think this is fine. Then remember that my element that has a shadow, right? I just bring it into the design. I want to put it inside this group. I might decide to lock this so it doesn't enter. So this is the mask group. As you can see, this is the mask group. Let me if I hide it, you can see, you can't see it again. Let me just lock the group and just bring this one inside and just sort of like the way to place it in so it just sort of like follows. But let me adjust the mask group again. So the element on the inside, I want this one to like be at the center. So let me just align to the center, then just basically bring the elements like so. So yeah, so that's basically how I designed the radial, and that's the concept behind masking, right? So you have to design whatever it is you want to beforehand. Create a use a rectangle, right? Place it directly under the group of elements that you want the mask to interact with, yeah, and just switch to use as a mask. Automatically, once you just change the property from fill to maybe any type of gradients, linear, angular, radial, yeah, automatically the entire thing just follows it. It just interacts with it. So if you don't want, like what I did here now, yeah, I brought this particular element outside of the group, added a shadow to it to bring that elevation. Because if I go back to what I designed a couple of months back, I did the same thing here. So these elements now are interacting with that background rectangle I created. But this primary element now is not inside the group. Anything outside of the group will not interact with the mask. If it's outside of the group, it will be on its own. So you can add a little shadow just to improve the elevation, make it seem as if it's popping away from the screen, and it just stands out essentially, right? So that's what I did here. Same thing. This is outside of the group. All these elements here are inside of the group. They're interacting with the elements, and this is just a visual, you know, sort of like representation of the idea you have designed, or the idea you're trying to communicate. So when you use your copy, use your body copy as well, then the action button, this just sort of like helps you do a better like storytelling. Same thing I did here, yeah. So you can see the text I just at the bottom, the interaction, the cards itself, or the masking of the element itself is what makes the design come alive, and you can easily just communicate what you're trying to do with the visual. So basically, it just helps you improve your visual storytelling, and at the same time, just communicates what you're trying to work on better. So that's everything I think I did. I think I've talked about um, this overview. We've talked about the side menu, and yeah. So these are those placeholders. I think I'll publish it to the Figma community by tomorrow or by Monday when I have like worked on the uh, gotten better icons. So I didn't pay attention to the icons when I was designing this. I was more focused on the layout of the entire dashboard. But yeah, so that's how I think I got here. So yeah, it's quite late. It's past 10. Any questions, anybody? I will be glad to answer if I can. Thank you so much. Yeah, any questions, please? Yeah, Brian, what's up? Please, you can speak or text either.
Okay, so good evening.
Hey man, how's it going? Thank you for joining.
Doing fine, doing well, doing well. I really learned a lot. I mean, I felt like I knew a lot when it comes to design and auto layouts, but I really saw some amazing things. So I wanted to ask here, there's an issue I have when it comes to design, and that kind of like has to do with my colors, and I feel like maybe it's because of the color grading of the system I use. So
Hmm.
I don't really know if maybe you could share your color palette, because the shadows and the contrast and all that, like, I feel like it's something that'll be really useful, and also the Web3 icons too.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I think for colors, yeah. Honestly, it's a lot of trial and error. I'll be honest with you. Like, there's no rocket science to it. There's a lot of trial and error. I'm someone that spends great amount of time on this. You see this thing they call what's this thing called? This I forgot what they call this thing, but I can spend a lot of time here. I've studied some of these things here. So if I want, let me go to my dribble explorations. Please don't crucify me. This file is a mess. That's why nobody sees it. It's fooling me. It's fooling me, right? So once you load up, I'll show you what I mean. I get ideas for colors anywhere, honestly speaking. So sorry, this file is a mess. I'm ashamed showing this to you, Sha, or to all of you, but anyways. So for instance, now I'm always picking colors, right? So I can just be browsing or be on the net and see something. And this thing started as far back as when I was even into brand design. What I would do is the last project I worked on, one of the colors I used there was from one of the jerseys I used to play ball. There was some kind of weird pitch. I saw the color and I tried to get it on the scale or the color wheel or whatever it is we call that thing. But I could not get it, yeah. So what I did was to take a picture of what I designed of the short I was wearing. I used to play football that day, and I just brought it into AI, and I just used the color picker to pick the color, and I just tuned it a bit, and that was one of the colors I used for that project. So I'm someone that is always browsing, like I'm always exploring. Every quarter, I have Figma files where I just do my design explorations, spend a lot of time. See, I paste a lot of things. Sorry, let me disperse it. So it can be like a mess at times. So that's why I never show anybody this file. But just because you asked, I think it's trial and error, right? I think once you understand a little bit of color theory, right? And color harmony, all those analogous colors, all of those things. I'm not even the best person to explain them to you. But I know that I've sort of trained myself to sort of like understand how things should look like. So the the relationship between colors. Like for instance, now, yeah, this is this is a shade of purple, right? And in my head, I'm like, obviously, there can be a darker purple. Just that will just fit on this because I did not want to use a black. So all these colors here are sort of related. So what I'll just go to, I just selected this color. I'll just go to the color wheel and I'll just go to HSB and I'll tweak the brightness, right, of the color. So all these things, if I go all the way down, it becomes a black, right? If I keep on going all the way up, it just gets darker. So You see, it's trial and error. It might seem like a skill, but I promise you, you can just like wing it sometimes, yeah. So, but there are some color. I think there's some color. What was it called? There's some color. Is it resources? Yeah, there's some color resources that I know of. There's Adobe Color. I think color.adobe.com. I think so. And if you're a big fan of gradients, I'm not really a big fan of gradients, yeah. But I haven't been here in a very long time, so yeah. So this close, please. You see all this analogous, monochromatic, triad, all of these things. Yeah, this is obviously a color resource that can just help you get something. Yeah, so you can just tweak with these values, play along with them. Basically, tries to excuse me. It basically tries to like just help you match, you know, colors that are healthy, that can work with each other. And you can just tweak it if you want to. You can tweak the RGB, tweak the hex if you want to. Just play with the values, and that's that. I think I know of there's another one called Coolors. Yeah, coolors.co. Remember? Though I barely use these things, yeah. I barely use them. But I know they help. They can inspire you a whole lot. So forgive my MTN network. I don't know. But yeah, Coolors. Then I think this one has like a paid plan or something like that. So it has a paid plan. So I think start generator, then something comes up. See, it even has a Figma plugin, right? See, all palettes right in your workspace. Right, my screen freeze, bro. And so this is obviously they have a pro version. Um, how does this even work again? Okay, so see, these are different shades, like the way you create them with a plugin and Figma. Then I'm trying to remember how I used this thing that time. The ad always keeps coming up, sure, but oh my god. Okay, sorry, I'm not clicking it. So select the color, then see just play around with the color wheel there, change the saturation and the brightness. Or use a picker or use HSB. So this is the hue, saturation, how pale and bright the color is, then brightness. So basically just play around. This gives you like a more custom control, sha, and you can always copy the hex or it has some tools too to adjust the palette, you know, all of these things. So this is another tool, I guess. Then there's another one called gradients. I think this is when I was a big fan of gradients. I think I was always going here. Gradients, yeah, .com. Although their gradients are very limited, but you can like you can explore them. Please don't use this one. I don't know why this is on this website. This is a very terrible combination of colors. Obviously, this is cool. This is cool. This is cool. I won't use this, but it can work. Maybe might reduce the saturation, yeah, but obviously this is cool. They have like a couple, I think just 3 pages or so. Yeah, just 3 pages, right? So this is another color resource. But more importantly, please, you can always browse. Just sometimes I can just browse on color combinations and just see and just keep on like tweaking and tweaking and tweaking and tweaking along the way. But essentially, the entire idea of what we're doing is to basically merge colors that can work. The entire thing of color harmony and basically just good easy relationship with them. But yeah, so that's how I was able to work on this one. I just basically was exploring, right? And I got the layout. This was my inspiration, right? To work on this. So small text at the top, then a couple of cards. I was asking myself, what will I put here? What will I put here? Then I just played around with it. Yeah. So as you can see, I think this color inspired my background also. Yeah, so yeah, this color inspired this frame, right? You can see I still like an artist, so you can see that there are obvious differences between two of them. But this was inspiration, and I added my own like illustrations inside, used the same masking thing as always. Yeah. Oh yeah. So that's the entire point. So I don't know if I answered your question to an extent, bro. Okay, I see your thumbs up. Thank you, man. So guys, any other questions, please? Let me know. Taking the silences, no. Okay, since nobody has any question to ask, yes, I will find a way since it's recording here, so I think I should be able to save it. So once, because I haven't done this before, I had to even pay for this plan today, so I'll be able to record the session. So I think once it saves, I'll look for a way to share the video to everybody. Yeah, but definitely, I think the file by tomorrow or whenever I have strength, I will make some adjustments and upload to Figma Community so you can just inspect it on your own, right? So yeah, thank you everybody. All right, stop sharing now. All right, guys. Maybe it's another time. Whenever I think I can do this again. Been a while. I like talked about design or basically taught it, so it was quite rusty. So please bear with me. But yeah, thank you everybody, and yeah, good night and talk soon. All right, Ben. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, PG. Thank you, Koi. Thank you, Ekene. Thank you, everybody. Love you. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Top.
Thank you, Chief. All right, guys. Good night. Take care. I keep
Thank
doing
you,
this stuff.
chocolate boy.
Now, good
Yo,
night.
yeah, I'll catch you. I'll catch you on WhatsApp. No be now. No be now. Bye, guys.
Take care.
Yeah, man. Safe.
Le.